of the continent's economy and energy systems towards sustainability, with a focus on reducing carbon emissions, fostering renewable energy, and promoting circular economies. So this transition is a central part of Europe's response to climate change and is embedded in various policy frameworks, particularly the European Green Deal. What are the key aspects of this? First of all, the objective of this deal, which is actually a policy for achieving climate neutrality by 2050, it aims to cut greenhouse gas emissions by at least 55% by 2030, while at the same time boosting the economy through green technologies and sustainable industries. The focus area is, of course, clean energy, how to transition to renewable energy sources, sustainable agriculture, promoting more eco-friendly farming practices through what I'm going to present here, another approach, which is called farm-to-fork strategy, biodiversity, protect ecosystems and reversing biodiversity loss, and circular economy, encouraging the use and recycling of materials, etc. At the same time, another aspect, is energy transition. Europe is moving away now from coal, oil, and gas, with several countries accelerating coal plant closures and banning new oil exploration. This has been further fueled by the need to reduce reliance on Russian gas in the wake of the Ukraine war. So the European Union has set a target to have at least 40% of energy from renewable sources by 2030. Offshore wind, solar farms, and development of green hydrogen are pivotal to achieving these goals, and investments also are being made in retrofitting buildings and improving energy efficiency across industries to reduce consumption. At the same time, we have embraced the Circular Economy Action Plan, which focuses on reducing waste and promoting sustainable production and consumption patterns, which is emphasized actually on recycling, upcycling, and designing products with longer life cycles. Extended producer responsibility laws are pushing industries actually to manage waste, particularly in sectors like electronics, textiles, or plastics. In the domain of sustainable mobility, Europe is promoting the widespread adoption of electric vehicles, with several countries setting timelines to phase out the sale of new internal combustion engine cars, and investments in charging stations, electric public transport, sustainable mobility plans are key to reducing the carbon footprint of transportation. The European also emission trading scheme, it's very important, is one of the primary tools for decarbonizing industries by setting a cap on emissions and allowing companies to trade emission allowances. So heavy industries like steel, for example, and chemicals are increasingly adopting low carbon technologies, including carbon capture and storage and the use of hydrogen. Europe also is investing heavily in its green transition with another plan is what we call European Union Recovery Plan. That we have a just transition mechanism which is designed to ensure that regions and communities that are heavily reliant on fossil fuels or carbon-intensive industries receive support to transition to greener economies without major social disruptions. And also we have a biodiversity strategy for 2030, which seeks to protect 30% of Europe's land and marine areas and restore degraded ecosystems, enhancing the resilience of nature against climate change. Also, reforestation and efforts to restore natural habitats play a crucial role in carbon sequestration. Sustainable agricultural food systems. This approach, the farm-to-fork strategy, is a new comprehensive approach to how Europeans value food sustainability. It's an opportunity to improve our lifestyles, our health. Actually, it aims to create sustainable food systems by reducing the use of chemical pesticides and fertilizers, promoting organic farming and cutting food waste. It encourages a shift towards more plant-based diets and shorter food supply chains to reduce environmental impact. And of course, private sector, government, civil society are collaborating on innovative projects. So we embrace ESG criteria in our operations. Governments provide subsidies, incentives for green innovations. And the main challenges, in my opinion, the biggest challenge is regulation, the regulatory frameworks, which are very, very unfriendly, still in Europe, in Greece, but in all European countries. we could see that these regulations are hostile for climate entrepreneurs, for those who want to make a startup. So the first thing to solve is how to improve, how to make climate entrepreneurship more attractive. And of course, the challenges have to do with economic social cost. While the green transition promises long-term benefits, it also comes with short-term economic and social challenges, particularly for industries and workers in traditional energy sectors. Some Eastern European countries with economies still heavily reliant on coal, as I said before, are finding this transition more difficult and are seeking, of course, more time, more financial support to adapt. And the public pushback because of certain policies such as carbon taxes or restrictions on certain industries have faced public resistance, particularly during economic hardships. So the green transitions in Europe, it's very, very ambitious. It's multifaceted transformations. We don't know if we will achieve all these targets. We aim to build a climate neutral, resource efficient and resilient economy. However, ensuring a fair and inclusive transition remains a crucial priority, especially for regions and communities that are heavily dependent on fossil fuels. So our primary goal is on this, how to promote, how to protect and restore biodiversity, economic transformation strategies, focus on job creation, green investments. So research and innovation, new technologies, green technologies like green hydrogen, carbon capture, technologies, the carbon pricing. I mentioned before the European emissions trading system, which caps and prices carbon emissions, will be expanded to more sectors such as shipping and aviation, incentivizing companies to reduce their carbon footprint and invest in clean technologies. The energy independence, by reducing dependence on importing fossil fuels, particularly from geopolitical rivals like Russia, the Green Deal aims to increase Europe's energy security and independence. Trade and global leadership have the carbon border adjustment mechanism will impose tariffs on imports from countries with less stringent environmental regulations, so encourages trading partners to align with Europe's climate standard. How was the war in Ukraine accelerated Europe's energy transition away from fossil fuels? Of course, before the war, Europe imported around 40% of its natural gas and about 25% of its oil from Russia. So the invasion of Ukraine led to immediate concerns about energy security, as Russia began cutting gas supplies to Europe in response to sanctions. So we have emergency measures. The European Union introduced the REPowerEU strategy, which aims to end Europe's dependence on Russia fossil fuels by 2027. And this plan focuses, of course, on rapidly increasing investments in renewable energy efficiency and diversifying gas supplies. Accelerate investments because this agency created by the war has pushed Europe to ramp up investments in renewable energy. Europe, especially countries like Germany or Denmark or Netherlands, is accelerating offshore wind projects and large-scale solar installations. And also, European Union is fast-tracking the development of green hydrogen as the clean fuel alternative, particularly for industries like steel and chemicals that are harder to electrify. The energy efficiency, energy conservation measures, how to build renovation, increase energy independence, I mentioned before. The energy storage, investments in energy storage, modernizing energy grids are critical for integrating renewable energy sources. And green financing. Here we have a Green Deal and Next Generation EU Recovery Fund, which actually prioritizes renewable energy, green technologies, infrastructure, policy acceleration, because many European countries are expediting regulatory approval processes for renewable energy projects, and this includes simplifying permitting for wind farms, solar parks, new transmission lines, which had previously been delayed due to bureaucratic hurdles. Public and political support, public backing of the energy crisis has increased public support for the green transition and political consensus. The European leadership in global climate action through green diplomacy, encouraging other countries to follow. And what are the main challenges Europe faces in achieving its target? Is decarbonizing energy-intensive industries, I mentioned before, the energy transition infrastructure, the energy security, geopolitical risks of energy dependence, how to finance the transition, the massive investments, the just transition mechanism, how to ensure a fair and equitable transition for regions that are heavily dependent on coal, policy and regulatory alignment. There unfortunately inconsistent national policies. I mean, the member states have different starting points and national priorities when it comes to climate action. So some Eastern European countries, for example, are more reliant on coal and need more time for the social transition. Aligning policies across countries and ensuring policy enforcement is complex. Social resistance, public resistance, I mentioned before, because policies like carbon taxes or fuel price increases or phasing out combustion engine vehicles could lead to public opposition, particularly among lower income groups and in rural areas where alternatives like public transport are less viable. The energy poverty, because rising energy costs due to the transition could exacerbate energy poverty, make it difficult for some households to afford electricity and heating. Decarbonizing transportation, scaling up charging infrastructure, promote electric vehicles, technological development, innovation, because still there are technological gaps. So we need carbon capture and storage technologies. Long duration energy storage are not yet commercially, we could say, viable at scale. So innovation and adoption, the speed of innovation remains a challenge. Agricultural land use, sustainable farming, balancing food security with sustainability remains a sensitive issue. Reforestation, also carbon sequestration, protecting biodiversity and increasing carbon sequestration through forestry and land use changes is essential. The global coordination and the case of job losses in traditional sectors. So this means ensuring adequate retraining and reskilling programs to transition workers to green jobs, which actually this is something that requires careful planning and investment. So fostering green jobs, climate neutrality, diversification of energy sources, supporting economic growth and job creation, technological innovation, transition to a low carbon economy, enhancing energy efficiency, and how Europe is planning to implement green hydrogen part of its energy strategy. Europe views green hydrogen as a crucial part of its energy transition to achieve climate neutrality. So the plan is actually here, this is a strategy for this, green hydrogen, which is produced using renewable energy sources, offers a clean, actually, alternative to fossil fuels in hard to decarbonize sectors, such as industry or transportation or heating. So we have several key initiatives and strategies here to scale production, to integrate green hydrogen into industry, cross-border hydrogen infrastructure, international cooperation, regulatory frameworks and standards. What are now the social implications of phasing out coal? I mentioned before, fear of job losses, economic decline, the public health, environmental benefits, cultural identity shifts, public resistance, economic opportunities in clean energy. For industry and innovation, I mentioned that the European emissions trading system is the cornerstone of European strategy to reduce carbon emissions and achieve climate neutrality. It is the world's first major carbon market and remains the largest, covering industries such as power generation, manufacturing, aviation, and heating. So by putting a price on carbon and capping the total amount of greenhouse gases that industries can emit, this system incentivizes companies to reduce their emissions and invest in cleaner technologies. However, while this has been effective in many respects, it also faces many challenges and limitations. So it has been effective in many sectors, manufacturing sector, with circular economy models, green steel and sustainable materials, transportation sector, hydrogen mobility, electrification of vehicles, sustainable aviation and shipping, in construction sector with energy efficient buildings, net zero buildings, retrofitting and renovation, sustainable urban development, with supply chain and logistics, with decarbonizing supply chains or sustainable packaging, finance and investment, sustainable finance, green innovation funds. And the European private sector, we could say, it is undergoing a significant transformation to meet the demands of the green transition, particularly in carbon-intensive sectors like manufacturing or transportation or construction. So through innovation, through investment in technology, compliance at the same time with new regulations, businesses are not only reducing the environmental impact, but also seizing the opportunities for growth in the green economy. Challenges remain, of course, especially in terms of scaling up clean technologies. And we have also many policies, initiatives for waste management, sustainable product policy framework, extended producer responsibility, I mentioned before, circular business models, waste reduction, recycling targets, European taxonomy for sustainable finance, green public procurement. Also, this actually encourages public authorities to lead by example by prioritizing sustainable products and services when they award contracts. And this includes purchasing eco-friendly construction materials, low-emission vehicles, and recycled goods. Consumer empowerment education. So how Circular Economy Action Plan of Europe reduces resource consumption by circular use of materials, by minimizing waste production. How can European countries ensure that the transition is economically viable and inclusive for businesses and consumers? Through financial incentive support, all these previous speakers have mentioned this, subsidies, grants, governments can offer financial support for businesses transitioning to circular models, grants for research and development, low interest loans, providing low interest loans for businesses, or tax breaks, offering tax incentives for companies that demonstrate sustainable practices. Through investment to infrastructure, recycling and waste management facilities, repair and refurbishing centers, public-private partnerships or collaboration between sectors, innovation hubs, setting up innovation hubs that brings together startups, established businesses, and research institutions can foster the development of new circular solutions. Skills development, investing, of course, in education and training programs focused on circular economy principles, through awareness campaigns. Regulatory frameworks I mentioned before is a big issue. We need eco-design regulations and extended producer responsibility policies, which actually holds producers accountable for the entire life cycle of the products, incentivizing them to design for sustainability and engage in recycling recovery efforts. Consumer participation engagement, so inclusive decision-making, accessibility of circular products, measuring and reporting price monitoring systems, how the transparency, of course, encourages businesses to report on their sustainability efforts, and circular practices can build consumer trust and promote accountability. Support for research and development for digital solutions, creating new market, facilitate market access. Sorry. Here I mentioned before about sustainable agricultural and food systems. This is a comprehensive policy framework, farm to fork strategy. It aims to create a sustainable food system in the European Union that balances food production with environmental sustainability. So the strategy recognizes the need to transform the entire food chain from production to consumption to ensure food security while minimizing the impact on the environment. What are the key components, the key objectives? Sustainable food production, reducing chemical inputs, promoting agroecological practices, supporting organic farming, sustainable supply chains, how to shorten supply chains, transparent supply chains, the food waste reduction, targets for reducing food waste, awareness campaigns, healthy diets, promoting healthy eating, the climate change mitigation, resilience in agriculture, the carbon farming, biodiversity conservation also, by agri-environmental measures, and engagement with stakeholders. Mechanisms for implementation, of course, legislation, policy frameworks, research, innovation, funding, and support programs. So balancing food production, environmental sustainability through this farm to fork strategy. This is a holistic approach. It is related with economic viability, consumer engagement, with innovation, flexibility, and adaptation. The role of organic farming and sustainable agriculture, of course, is related with environmental sustainability, reduced chemical inputs, soil health, biodiversity conservation, climate change mitigation and adaptation. What steps are being taken to promote the adoption of electric vehicles and transportation infrastructure in Europe. There are regulatory frameworks, policy initiatives about zero-emission vehicle mandates, emissions reduction targets. There are financial incentives, subsidies and grants, investment charging infrastructure. There's a European charging network, public and private partnerships, the promotion of green public transport, electrification of public transport, funding for sustainable transport projects, urban mobility planning, sustainable urban mobility plans, mobility as a service. These initiatives promoting mobility as a service aim to integrate various transport modes into a single accessible service, encouraging the use of public transport and reducing reliance on private cars. Public awareness training programs and collaboration with automotive industry, integration of renewable energy, monitoring and reporting progress. So Europe is taking a comprehensive multifaceted approach to promote the adoption of electric vehicles and green transportation infrastructure. And how do policies like banning internal combustion engine vehicles impact the European automotive industry? Of course, there is this related with job implications, impact on ancillary industries, long-term strategic planning, environmental social responsibility, and what are social and political considerations. How does the European Union plan ensures a just transition that protects workers and communities? Through this deal, European Green Deal, this just transition mechanism, financial support, skills development, reskilling programs, social protection measures, monitoring, evaluation, collaboration with social partners. So what are all these potentials? Of course, economic consent, job losses, political resistance, geopolitical considerations, mobilizing resources and financing, climate financing. I mentioned before this mechanism and its role in supporting regions or communities that may be affected by the shift away from fossil fuels. Public and private sectors should collaborate on all these issues that I mentioned before by leveraging European funding programs, encouraging innovation research, promoting sustainable supply chains, engaging all stakeholders in the community. And about diversity, we need, of course, to protect natural habitats, connect nature and people, restoration of ecosystems. The challenges are related with how to balance economic interests. This is the main challenge. The climate change impacts, integration into existing frameworks, and what strategies are being employed to balance economic growth with the preservation of natural ecosystems in Europe. The circular economy initiatives, all these sustainable development goals, nature-based solutions, we know biodiversity offsetting, ecosystem service valuation. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope I presented a lot about the European Green Deal, which is, of course, as I mentioned before, a very ambitious plan. We don't know if we will achieve all this, but at least we need to think how we can collaborate, how we can establish collaborations and partnerships among countries in order to promote all these ambitious targets. Thank you very much.